This edition of My Thoughts Monday is brought to you by Valve Performance, the team behind the Nordboard, Force Decks, the Groin Bar, and Human Track. Guys, the most important ability for all of our athletes is availability, and that's the absolute goal of Valve Performance, is to provide solutions to performance professionals so that we can get the right information to make the right decision at the right time for the betterment of the athletes that we get to work with. To do this, guys, they have a wide range of validated products that focus on usability, and having being founded by the School of Exercise and Nutrition Sciences at the Queensland University of Technology, they're extremely evidence-based and they're beyond transparent. I can tell you that our time using the Nordboard and being involved with Force Decks, we have been introduced to so many amazing people that have truly helped us become better coaches, have a better understanding, not just of the technology, but also what we're doing with our athletes. So make sure you hop over to valveperformance.com today to make sure you check out what they got. It's going to make you better and to do better by your athletes. Being a strength and conditioning professional requires constant pursuit of better knowledge, better methods, and better means. But what if there was a place where strength and conditioning coaches could learn from some of the most innovative practitioners in the world, such as Jeff Moyer, Lachlan Wilmot, William Wayland, James the Thinker Smith, and Keir Wenham Flatt? Well, you could find multiple lectures from each of these top-level coaches and a few lectures and examples from yours truly as well, all in the Strength Coach Network. The Strength Coach Network is going to bring you well over 100 different lectures from some of the top practitioners in the world to be your one-stop shop for your continuing education and professional development. So hop on over to strengthcoachnetwork.com/CVASP today and get your 48-hour trial for only $1. That's strengthcoachnetwork.com/CVASPS to get your 48-hour trial for only $1. I look forward to seeing you in the Strength Coach Network.
Hey guys, this is LOREN Lando, head strength and conditioning coach for the Denver Broncos. I'm coming out to Richmond, Virginia, July 17th and 18th for the seminar. I'm excited to be at the conference. I'm excited to present and also learn from everybody there in attendance. Now, a little bit about me. My journey has been over 20 years in the performance field, and my roles have varied. My roles have been everything from an athletic director to an operations manager in high-end athletic clubs, personal trainer in high-end athletic clubs, cardiac and pulmonary rehab specialist. I've also been able to own and operate my own facility called Lando Performance. Again, private training facility where we see athletes of all ages and abilities. Now, currently in my role, I'm the head strength and conditioning coach for the Denver Broncos, and what I'm going to be providing on July 17th and 18th is really my look, my lens into return to sport or return to play. I'm going to focus a lot on lower extremity, but again, I will touch on upper extremity and also trunk and spine. Uh, Within what I'm going to present, it really comes from a lot of failures over the years and a lot of success, a lot of failures, and just trying to see commonalities and traits in injury patterns and ultimately in some of the rehabilitation protocols that were put together. And, you know, some things that work for some athletes, some things don't work for others, and trying to underline and find specific principles that maybe kind of set the tone when we're looking at return to play or really kind of set your foundation and really serve as a good checks and balances along the way in your recovery with your athletes. Now, everything that I will show in July will ultimately be my growth of work and my evolution of work. And again, I've been fortunate enough to work alongside with orthopedic doctors, great physical therapists, great athletic trainers, some of the best hands-on specialists in the world. But also a lot of my mentors as well. Greg Roscoff, who's a soft tissue specialist, Dan Paff, who has an eye and an understanding of multiple layers of motor skill mastery and what that looks like when there's maybe a dysfunction or maybe there's some asymmetrical issues that lead into dysfunction. Ultimately, what I've done over the years is I've kind of pieced together what my return to play models look like. Now, these return to play models were models that I've used all the while at Lando Performance and bringing athletes back from everything from Achilles injuries, high ankle sprains, chronic ankle sprains, ACL, MCL, LCL, PCL type injuries, hip labrum, osteitis pubis, a lot of different adductor pathologies that athletes tend to get with poor mechanics or poor movement. And sometimes it's just a one-time trauma. But a lot of times you can uncover specific patterns that lead to repetitive type scenarios when we look at patellofemoral syndrome and Seaver syndrome and Osgood-Schlatter's and things like that, and how can we work around those things, and what should be some of our warning signs, and what should be the mechanics that we look at with each individual athlete, and what are some of the bells and whistles that should go off for you when you're working with an athlete coming back from any of the aforementioned injuries that should make you either regress your progressions or completely halt or move forward. Again, these progressions that I will go through, it's a six-phase model that I use that ultimately, if we're looking at a lower extremity injury, we'll just talk about the knee right now. But if we're discussing the knee, I have a six-phase model that I use. Somebody coming back from ACL, for example, they'll start in our neuromuscular reeducation, stability, learning how to bear weight again and hold good stance position and stack joints and have good postural control. And in time, those exercises go into something a little bit more on the coordinative aspect, where maybe now we're actually going through a locomotion pathway, but we're not going anywhere. Then as the athlete starts to learn those patterns and they start to go through good, clean ranges of motion, then ultimately I'll take them into what is considered more my velocity-based drills. A lot of drilling that we all see in speed development, but I use it early on in my rehab protocols, because the way I look at it is from the tissue standpoint, we can tolerate velocity of a limb much better than we can, better than we can tolerate force from the limb. So early on, I use my velocity protocols, and then as the athlete shows me greater tolerance and capability, and they show me good coordinative patterns, they show me there's no longer an asymmetrical issue, there's not a timing issue, then I can take the drills up in speed and tempo. I can take the drills up in duration as well. As the athletes show me good quality of movements here, then I can take it more into my force-based exercises. Now, my force-based exercises are going to have a lot more drive into the ground, creating a lot more torque at the ankle, knee, and the hip, and ultimately it's a progression of tissue tolerance, and that's the most important thing. I'm looking for tissue tolerance, but I'm also looking for good symmetrical timing. If orchestration and that timing aspect isn't there, in my opinion, you have to regress. And these are all things that I'm going to cover July 17th, 18th when I'm out in Richmond. Ultimately, where we end with this progression is really getting the athletes ready for the field. I think a lot of times when we look at return to sport, we get athletes maybe in a position where they're functional, but we don't get them to optimal. And optimal is a lot of considerations. Optimal is considerations of the capability of not just rate of force development, but rate of force control. How well do we decelerate? What is our capacity? What is our conditioning like within those needs of deceleration? So we have to look at all those aspects when we're creating our return to play protocols. And those are just some of the things that I'm going to go through, one in lecture, but then two, I'll follow it up in a practical setting.